Well, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today at the request of Flower Child and a few other people as well. There's a couple things you guys wanted me to address, so let's get started. I guess what we're going to go over is the high potential for Bitcoin and when we could expect that. I'm going to try to condense this video so that we're not spending too much time. Videos like this can take a lot of time, but bear with me. We're gonna get through it. So we're going to talk through all-time highs and time frames for when we could expect them, and then we're going to talk about this MACD death cross is what somebody referred to it as. And I just want to say, first and foremost, you can't get a death cross on a MACD. You can have a bearish cross, but a death cross by definition, I'm pretty sure, and it's, tomato, whatever, you can apply it to whatever you want, but technically speaking, it's the 50-day moving average crossing below the 200-day moving average, and I'm pretty sure those are simple moving averages. So long story short, MACD death cross probably not, but a MACD bearish cross maybe. We'll check it out. I don't normally use the MACD in these videos, though I am familiar with the MACD. There's people, man, that I watch who I admire their TA, and I feel like they don't understand the entireties of the MACD. I don't either personally, but I'm just surprised when they use it all the time. Like I see this one guy, I'm not going to name names because again, I respect these people, and everybody is entitled to their own form of analysis, but he doesn't even have the oscillators on there. He just has the histogram, and the oscillators are important because that's what gives these numbers over here meaning. That's what gives them meaning over there. And there is a relationship going on with the oscillators in this. So I don't know. If you're using the MACD, why limit yourself just to the histogram? But let's see. So there's, at least on the daily, it doesn't look like we're getting a bearish cross. We had that, way back here, but that's old news, right, in March. So I don't know about a bearish cross or a death cross on the MACD, at least not on the daily. Perhaps the weekly is what you're talking about. That would make sense. Perhaps the weekly. Well, I will say I'm pretty bullish. Oh, right, I'm gonna pause the music. I'm sure it's getting I'm sure it got a bit out of hand. We were just playing, what was it? Pure Gent Suite number 1, I don't know, something like that. Grieg, I don't know. Anyways, it's the one that goes bump 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 bump. You guys probably heard it, or maybe you didn't hear it, and I'm just talking about something for no reason. But anyways, yes, the weekly does appear to have a bearish cross down. I want to just show you, for example, the last time that we had a bearish cross, what happens. So this cross actually came right before it happened on this week here. I'll blow it up a little bit more so you can see it. We had a bearish cross right there, and it happened right before we dropped down about 10% in a week, and then floated sideways, then slowly moved up. I suppose we had a 2-week period here where we had a bearish cross, and then we moved up. The only difference, I suppose, would be that this was moving down ahead of time, where this, I suppose it was moving down, but you kind of just happened upon a pump move. So I don't know, kind of different circumstances is all I'm trying to say. We're also way higher on the oscillators versus where it was in reference to this 0 point here. So we could come down. There could be a little bit more of a crash. I want to see what are the all-time highs in this. Yeah, is this on Coinbase? Let's go. Hold on. Let's go to the index. Yeah, so you're at pretty high readings, right, that you've never really seen before. This is the second time that you've ever seen it. And this is where you were, not just price-wise, but also like just reference. I guess price-wise, and then also on the MACD. You're a little bit lower now, but you pulled back a pretty solid bit here. You could be onto something. I forget who it was that mentioned it. I'd give you a shout out right now, but 55.6% of a drop. Mind you, that was after some impressive pump that just didn't really stop for a while. But could we see that here? I think we could. I think being that BTC is only at, right now, it's only at a 23% drop. I think that suffices. I don't think we need to go lower than that. And we're going to get into the long-term stuff in a second, I promise. But I think this is what I'm supposed to refer to as far as the MACD cross goes. 23% suffices for a low, but so does 40%. So does 50%. We could go that low. And a 50% drop would be a bit extreme. We'd be below 38K, but we could do that, still form a higher low, and be, on a proper trajectory upwards. I love doing this, because if you take this low here, if I draw a straight line from the low kind of up to the high there, and let's say we were to drop all the way down to 37K, something like that. Well, that would be here at the end of July, essentially starting at the end of July, August time. If we moved on this again, because that came from this move over here, if we moved in the exact same amount of time, well, we'd be above 100K by February of next year. So we really could dump a lot if we repeat the same move that we've already seen, which normally after the halving, moves only get stronger, not weaker or even similar. They tend to get stronger, right? Pre-halving move, post-halving move, right? Pre-halving move, pretty steep. Post-halving move, steep, about as steep and more sustained, right? Pre-halving move, well, I got a lot of nonsense on the chart here. Pre-halving move was before July, so that would have been back here, right? Pre-halving move, post-halving move. Way different. So I'm just saying, even if we dropped all the way down here, even if it took months to drop all the way down there, we'd still be fine. We would still, before Q1 is even over next year, we have the proper trajectory set just on repeat here to achieve prices above 100K and probably likely higher in the same amount of time. But I digress. That's neither here nor there. I'm just saying this could be the low for BTC, but it also couldn't. We could go lower and it would still be fine. And in fact, the last time that we had a negative cross on the MACD, this is what inspired it all, at these levels, was back here where we saw a 53% drop, right? Very kind of similar move. Less steep of a trajectory. I would expect we have less of a drop too, but a drop nonetheless. But maybe, perhaps we've already kind of seen it, Perhaps we have, I don't know. It looks like actually after that cross, it was about 3 weeks afterwards, that's when we really saw things kick off. So who knows, maybe the end of this month will be pretty bearish, but time will tell. Where do I want to go from here? Yeah, these weekly crosses aren't normally friendly. Let's look at the Heikinashi real quick. A little bit of a red cross there. We're in the bull trend. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'd put too much weight on that. As of right now, we're in a negative trend on the Heikinashi, and that makes sense. I don't think we're going to see new all-time highs anytime soon. I do think that it's going to be, months until we do see that. I just don't think that, it could be until August that we break this high, but I don't think that means we're going to be moving down until August. You know what I mean? We're probably, if not, we've already found our low. We're probably very near it. We'll find it this month and then consolidate over time. But that's neither, I've already talked about that a bunch, so let's move on from there. Let's get to the main point, which is the all-time high and when that could happen, when we could see that. I hope that helps. Whoever asked about the MACD cross. There's one more thing I want to go over. I guess we can go over like relative technicals here. So looking at it on a daily perspective for BTC, I'm not impressed with this move up. It's nice to see, but really it's just another lower high. We haven't done anything with it. There is the potential to continue. We haven't gotten the rejection yet. I am anticipating a rejection that will promote a lower low than this, and where I would expect that low to go, if we take this low to this high here, that wasn't the proper low. The minimum extended move based off of this little bounce that we had would be down at about 54.5K, potentially down to 52K itself. So somewhere in that range is where I would expect BTC goes over the coming weeks, over the coming days, over the coming weeks, but sometime probably either this week or next week would be my real thoughts. Yeah, daily RSI. Daily RSI does not look too exciting to me. Lower highs and lower lows. It looks like it wants to try that oversold zone again. But what's crazy about the RSI is, you'd like to see it get higher, but the higher it goes, while forming a higher high here, while the price forms a lower high, that's actually more bearish. That's hidden bearish divergence. So when you're getting higher highs in your RSI but lower highs in price, it's not a good thing. So even though the RSI might form a higher high soon, it really could over the coming days, that actually wouldn't be a good thing to see unless you get follow through with the price and we can close a day above that high there at about literally $66,860. Unless we can close above there, a growth in the RSI from here is only going to potentially hinder the price action and send it lower is what I would really think. I very much do believe that 54.5K to 52K price is going to happen. A lot of people are looking at 52K, so I think it just above that would make sense. 53K to 55K might be more of an emphasized number, but I do hear a lot of people talk. I'm surprised at how many YouTube channels over the past 24 hours. I don't normally check in, but man, I watched like 5 different channels today, big channels, that they all were talking about 52K. And people who I respect, people who I don't respect, but I still like to know what their input is, all walks of life, the big channels that probably everybody knows, a lot of people are talking about 52K. So I wonder if we don't see 52K. Looking at the daily, yes, we have a little cross to the green side, but we did cross below the zero. We crossed below the zero line here with the oscillators. This is why this is important. I would consider this a little phase, a little reprieve, a bit of a break, right? I don't think it's going to merit anything. In fact, I think that you're only getting that because you had bullish divergence here. Not really even, because technically with the MACD, yes, you do have higher lows, but in succession of this low point here, you actually have a lower low, so that would nullify it. But I don't know. Maybe it is bullish divergence. I don't know. At any rate, if it is, that move's already been fulfilled. And I would say any move higher than here, even if we go higher, you still have to cross that zero line. So a rejection off of that zero line, which is pretty damn common, just as support is, would only send you lower. And this, just a little bit higher, that could suffice. You don't actually have to touch it, just like you bounced around it but not through it. And I have a very basic understanding of the MACD, man. I don't understand everything about it, but enough to know that zero line, you essentially would treat it like the 50 on your RSI, essentially. But it's a bit more significant, maybe, perhaps. I don't know. Anyways, let's move on from there. We want to talk about the all-time high, right, and when we could expect to see this. So I made a video yesterday on Bitcoin Cash, and I'm going to do it in a very similar fashion, do this video from here on out in a very similar fashion to how I did that video. So if we look at this on, let's do a monthly. We're doing long term. Let's use the long term. Okay. So monthly here. If we go, we're going to do it a few different ways, okay? If we go from all-time high to all-time high, that took 29 months. If we go from all-time high here to all-time high there, that took 49 months. And if we do the last cycle, all-time high to all-time high, that was 47 months. So 29 months, 49 months, 47 months. I'd feel safe in assuming somewhere around these numbers, but it is possible it could last a shorter amount of time. However, 47. Is it 40? Yeah, it is. Okay, 47. However, it appears we're already at 29 months. So I doubt that, there's reason to believe that we could already be done with the cycle, but I would expect that we've got more in us. 29 months to 47 months, to put that in perspective, would be over a year away from now. But let's say 45 months. Let's say it's not even 47 months. 45 months would put us in August of next year. 47 months, right, which is what we just had last cycle. So I doubt that happens, but that'd put us in October. I actually do like October for an end month. 49 months would be December, and there is the possibility we could even go longer than that. So this market cycle, at least for Bitcoin, could go and extend into 2026. There's no reason that it couldn't happen, other than that'd be the longest high to high that we've ever seen distance-wise on a monthly basis, but it could happen. For now, I'd like to entertain this 47 to 49 month area. Let's give it 2 months on either end. So 49 months would be December. Come on now. Why? I can get 48 and 50, but I can't get 49. There we go. So 49 months, let's do 2 months out from there. So that would be February of 2026, which I personally don't see happening, but hey, it can happen. It definitely can happen. And then 47 months, 2 months earlier than that, right? So 47 would be October. Let's say August, okay? In this format, we're gonna do it in a different way now. We're gonna get a bunch of different lines to see if we can get an accurate kind of estimate as to when the bull cycle could end, and then from there we're gonna go to where the price could be, okay? Now let's do halving to the high. So the halving here happened in November of 2012, November 28th, 2012. The high happened 12 months later, okay, after the halving. The next halving happened in July of 2016, July 9th, 2016, and we had our high 17 months later. We had, I think it was May 11th, July 9th, 2016, and then I think it was May 11th, 2020. Our high happened 18 months later. So we've actually got 12 months, 17 months, 18 months, a little bit of growth in between the highs there, right? So our halving just happened in April. I think by the looks of the charts, it'd be safe to assume that we would at least see, I think, 17 months at least, which would be September, if not potentially 18 months or even longer. 18 months puts us right in October. And if we were to continue this trajectory of longer, we could at least assume, potentially November. So I'm not going to add lines here. I think this fits well within this range just based off this, so we'll just roll with it. But just more pointing to and agreeing with this area. I think every single one of those targets, except for 12 months, landed in that zone. And we're not going to do the 12-month thing, man. I think we're already past that. I mean, unless the bull market already ended, then this video has no point. So why even include it anyways? But I very much doubt the bull market already ended, and we'll go over reasons for that too. I'm surprised. I'm actually very surprised compared to the last market. Like, this reminds me more of like the 2017 market, where there were a lot more people who just all the way through were convinced that it was the end of the market. And there were a lot of people who weren't too. But last cycle, I felt like everybody was on the same page. We were all thinking that the market wasn't over ever since we broke 20K. But here we're breaking new all-time highs, and people are like, bull cycle's already over. And I'm like, how? How? The data would suggest otherwise. It really would. I would love it if it went down. I would love it if it went down, man. We get to buy at cheaper prices. So what? It takes more time. We're going to have, like, if the bull market ended here, you guys, it would be more of a blessing than it would be a curse. I promise you. It would just take more time for that blessing to be realized, but it would be bigger than if we just ran up from here. But fortunately, we're going to run up from here, probably, is my thoughts. So the next thing that I want to do, last thing before we move on to the price targets, just to verify that we're looking at the right idea here. Now, so we've done top to top, halving to high. Let's do low to high and get this over with. Low to high right there, right? 24 months. Low here to high here, 28 months. Low here to the high there, 35 months. Another trend that is getting longer as the cycles continue. Let me just see which one's lower. So that's the lower one, right? Oh, that's actually the lower one. Hold on. So 28 months would put us in March of next year. It's kind of the earliest time point, but I think it's worth considering. Relevant to this cycle, it's worth considering. We might be in a parabolic cycle right now, honestly. 28 months, 35 months being the last cycle, which I think is worth considering. It's in that range, so maybe I won't add to it. And then potentially longer than that, let's say 2 months longer, 37, 38, 39 even. Yeah, it's all within that range. So I don't feel like we need to add more to it. This is our range time-wise. I feel pretty happy with that. I hope you guys do too. I hope you understand what's going on here. And I feel like it's easy stuff to comprehend. I'm not trying to question or judge anybody's level of intelligence. I'm sure everybody can comprehend this. It's just, am I delivering it in the right way that makes it comprehensible? I always wonder, and a lot of you give me positive feedback that I am, but I want to just say again, if this is hard for anybody to follow, it's probably not your fault. It's not your lack of intelligence. It's probably my fault in a lack of a good way of bringing it up. But anyways, enough buttering the bread there, man. High to low, cycle high to low here. I'm just going to put some lines up here at the 2272 and the 1618. Okay, and I'll come back as to why that is. So if we take the first cycle high to the first cycle low, our next all-time high came in at the 2272. In fact, just a little bit above it. So right there, 2272. If we move this same thing over to the all-time high there, And instead of this cycle low, we take it to this cycle low. Our next all-time high came in again just above the 2272. That's a repeat right there. 2272 two times in a row. Next cycle high to the next cycle low. This time we did not hit the 2272, but instead hit the 1618. So this was the minimum. The 2272 would be up here. The minimum extension we've ever seen was the 1618. So if I take from this cycle high to this cycle low, just as I've just done with the previous 3 cycles, and this is the 4th iteration, so who knows if it stands true, these white lines are roughly in that area. So if we take away the fibs now, this is our area, and if we were to draw a rectangle, a square, a whatever in this zone, and we were to delete all the lines, well, we've got a nice little pretty golden box up there. Call it the backboard, call it whatever you want, but that's the target zone and time frame as far as price action goes. Okay, and I didn't even read those numbers before it happened, but the minimum value would be somewhere around 170K for Bitcoin, and the maximum would be somewhere around 460K for the top. So as early as March, as late as February 2026, and personally I feel like it would be later than March and earlier than February of 2026, but you know, something in between there. Who cares what I personally think? This is based off the data that we have, and that I think that's a good thing to look at. If we were to put a line, kind of maybe a dot even, like smack dab in the middle, I'll just eyeball it here. That's pretty good, right? A little bit to the left, I feel like. I don't know, might be hard. Yeah, we'll just screw it. We'll just leave it there. Something like that, you know, if that was our target area, then all we'd have to do is boom, move there, right in the middle, right? That's like your average area. That's what our trajectory would be. And hey, that's pretty much the trajectory that we have now. It's just a little bit higher. And as the cycle goes on, as I was saying earlier, we normally expect the second half of the cycle after the halving to be the most intense part as far as growth goes. Here's a good idea. Here's something we should do. So if we take actually the growth after each halving, how much we saw, November, right? Let's take it from the high point. Let's take it from the closing point of those months, okay? Closing point of the halving month. Right, and this is November, yes. The all-time high came in at about 10,000% up, okay. So probably not going to happen this cycle, not there. Let's see, July was the next one. July closed to here. That was 3,100%. I want to make sure I got the low. So let's actually get the close. There we go. Yes. It's 3,000%. The last halving was May. We'll get the month close. From the month close, the high was 630%. So noticeably declining each time, right? We take the halving from last month, right? Because it was April. And the closing price is here. If we were to see the bottom of this box, 170K, well, that is a 187% growth, by far the smallest amount from the halving afterwards. So I think, I mean, in correspondence with this, I think that makes sense. But also, you know, even going up, even if we went to the top of the box, it's pretty on par with last cycle. And I think it's fair to say that last cycle was a bit of a dud, and we could see a stronger cycle this cycle in comparison to last cycle specifically. This might be the first cycle that actually sees more progress than a previous cycle. It'll break that theory. It'll throw a lot of people through a loop that think that we're going to have diminishing returns. And I think to a point we will, but they can only diminish for so long. This might be the first cycle that breaks that trend of diminishing returns. And then next cycle, we start a whole new trend of diminishing returns. Who knows? But it's pretty crazy that even 500K is roughly the same amount that we grew last cycle, right? It's pretty crazy. So anything and everything, I would say, in this box is possible. Even the lows, even the earlies, even the lates, even the highs. It's all possible. But this is kind of what we could expect by the end of the cycle. Me, personally, I like that later part of the year. I like late Q3, early Q4 for the possible cycle high. As far as where's the high going to go, again, my minimum expectation would be the orange line here, the 1618 at 173K. maximum would be 462K, and I'm going to be frank, I do expect the 462K and just above that target to be hit. I think we were robbed last cycle. I think there are a ton of reasons. Everybody has their theories, but there are plenty of reasons as to why last cycle is the only cycle that had a double top, is the only cycle that was noticeably held back, right? I don't think we're going to have that this cycle. I think things are different and for the better, at least from a financial standpoint, from a standpoint of risk on assets and investing as a whole. So I'm pretty optimistic that yes, we will see the 2272 being hit, but 173, 462 at a minimum, and likely probably higher than 462. I bet we would see that half a milli marker, but time will tell. That's what it would look like, and I feel like it all makes sense. We've seen it all happen before. Would literally be asking for just a little bit more growth from the halving point of last cycle instead of 630, 650 to hit the top box there, and maybe even more. I really do expect that this cycle will be stronger than last cycle. You know, if we take the low to high here, overall growth was 2,100%. I expect this cycle to be stronger, which would then imply that we would see more growth than last cycle, right? If it's going to be a stronger cycle, I feel like that's something. If it sees less growth, then it's a weaker cycle, and that's part of the process, right? As time goes on, weaker and weaker cycles happen. But you know, a stronger cycle, boom, you know, that would put us at a minimum of 344K. So a stronger cycle than that, I don't know. It would make sense to me. It really would make sense to me. But time will tell. We'll see. So far, it's just ravings of a Bitcoin crypto bull, right? But as time goes on, it might be more obvious. It might come to be realized, but time will definitely tell, and I just keep saying that. So with that, I'm going to end the video. I hope everybody had a good time. If you liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you all for coming, and I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.